Happy anniversary, Epic 7. I was debating on whether or not to even make this video because several other high-end content creators have already done this video, but I've had several requests, so here it is. I dislike and distrust tier lists, but I'm going to do the best I can to help you navigate the new Moonlight Blessing that has come out. On this new Moonlight Blessing, they've given us an option of 7 different heroes, and some of them are really, really good. In fact, all of them are pretty darn good. But which one's the best? Which one's the best for you? Which one's the best for your level of account? Well, that's what we're here to discuss, because you'll get conflicting information. Some people are really into RTA. Some people don't want anything to do with RTA. Some people are relatively new at the game. Some people have top-end gear, and all these things weigh into which unit you should pick from this. We'll be approaching it assuming that you don't have any of the units on the list at the start, and then each successive unit would be my recommendation if you have the unit before. Now, something to consider is that the Moonlight Blessing will take a while, several weeks if not months to complete. In this time, you might stumble across the unit you're building towards. Let's say you selected Conqueror Lilias and she pops out of a random daily summon, or you do your galaxy bookmark pulls and out she pops. The event protects you from that to a point. You're allowed to change your mind one time. Before you lock in the unit, you can switch to a different ML unit, but you can only switch once, no going back. This way, if you stumble across the unit, you're not stuck with a dupe. To this point, before you lock in your unit, please do all of your galaxy bookmark pulls, all of your summons, because you don't want to be that guy. I know it's a real low chance, but you don't want to be that person who locks in their brand new Conqueror Lilias and then summons her from the galaxy pulls the very next day. So let's jump right in and start navigating this web. The first unit on the Moonlight Blessing is Conqueror Lilias, and she is the top of my list. She is hands down the best unit on this team, bar none. If you don't have Conqueror Lilias, you get Conqueror Lilias. There really is no second option. Sure, some of them are really good, but none of them are this unit. This unit gives vigor, which cannot be dispelled. She's a source of dual attacks. She's an HP scaler, so she actually does decent damage. She is very bulky and tanky. She is very fast. She's got a 2-turn provoke if you soul burn, and a 1-turn provoke if you don't. She provides barriers to the highest HP unit. What a powerhouse unit. It's why you see her first picked in almost every match in RTA if she's not already banned. Outside of RTA, she's fantastic. You'll see me use her all the time in Hall of Trials. She's got Guild War applications. She's got Arena, offense and defense applications, usable in every aspect of the game. Now, as for gear, mine right here is geared, I think, Emperor tier, maybe even Legend tier. This level of gear is very, very high end for Conqueror Lilias. Your gear doesn't have to be that good. The meta has slowed down a whole bunch, especially with all of the counter cleave and anti-opener units, and especially with units like Zeo. The gear requirements for using Conqueror Lilias, I think, have dropped substantially. I think you can easily run her at 270, 280 speed and still be successful with her. The next unit on the list is Mediator Kawerik, affectionately called Hand Guy. He is a very, very close second, in my book, to Conqueror Lilias. This unit does it all. He cleanses debuffs, all of them, and gives you immunity on top of that. And he gives you attack buff on top of that. That's all just one skill. His S2 skill gives everybody a really strong barrier that scales off his own health and can strip any unit. That's why I have a little bit of effectiveness on mine. I love being able to strip with this unit. People sleep on putting effectiveness on Hand Guy, and you really should put a little on there. And his S1 will CR push the next unit in line so he can help units cycle faster. He can be built several ways. I've seen him built in the 260 speed to go first. I've seen them built in the 220 speed range to go after most Angel of Light Angelicas. In fact, I'm building a second Mediator Kawerik as we speak to run the slower variant as well. You can build him with damage, you can build him with effectiveness, you can build him with effect resistance, you can build him with speed. He's got a variety of options. He is always picked in the first 3 or 4 units of RTA. He's just that good. And he's got uses outside of RTA as well. Again, in Guild Wars, he's a powerhouse unit for dealing with problems. In Ancient Inheritance, he's one of the most important units in the game. Really good pickup. You already have Conqueror Lilias, and you don't have Mediator Kawerik. You've got your answer. There really is nobody else in this Moonlight Blessing for you other than those 2 units. But let's assume that you've got both of these units. The next one on the list is going to be a little controversial, and that's Remnant Violet. Remnant Violet is so freaking amazing that people have written memes about him. Best build right now, in my opinion, is the lifesteal build with a lot of damage, and this is where the problem of Remnant Violet comes in. He is not a real unit if you don't have top-end gear. I think my level of gear is pretty good. I think it's well above the average players, and my Remnant Violet is geared to be barely at a usable point. I think he's really good if I could get a little bit more health on him, and maybe a little bit more defense. I think 11k health and 1100 defense is kind of a good target point for him, but everything else seems to be on point. A little bit less damage and he's not going to kill. A little bit less health and people will kill him on a miss. You can also build the speed variant. Here's a friend of mine's build. Less popular now that we have other opener units. Well, not opener units, but fast aggro DPS units like Green Sid or Last Peace Karen or even Zahak. Kind of do a similar job, but you can surprise people with a fast unit like this and take out some of those other openers. People don't see it coming, and if you put a Wind Rider artifact on that style of build, you can do some things, but again, that's an even higher level of gearing. So I put Remnant Violet solidly in the A tier if you can build him. And if you can't build him, if you don't have this level of gear, if you aren't at least within spitting distance of what I've got on the screen right here, I think you pass on this guy until your gear's a little bit better. He'll come around again for you. Nothing worse than picking a Moonlight hero and he does nothing for your account because you don't have the gear to support it. Now we kind of move into the niche units. Astromancer Elena. I'm putting higher up on this list because counterattacks have become such a problem, especially with the introduction of ML Landy. If you're facing your average arena defense, you're dealing with ML Landy, and Astromancer Elena will shut that down. She is fantastic in Guild Wars, she's fantastic in Arena, she makes a lot of things that were dangerous, safe. Little harder to use her in RTA. In positions where she will be really good in RTA, she likely just gets banned, but she is a solid answer when people are trying to hit you with counterattack teams. Now, she doesn't stop extra turn attacks like Lone Crescent Bologna. She won't stop those slapback attacks because those aren't true counters, those are passive skills going off. She won't stop Landy's salvo from going off, but she'll stop the counterattacks from Landy because most all of them are built on counter set. She's great against units like Senya, she's great against units like Shu. She can be a bit of a lifesaver, but that's about the extent of her usefulness. She does do a little bit of damage, but as you can see, mine's not even fully mullet. I rarely reach for her, I go for other answers. But I think because of her usefulness outside of RTA in Arena and Guild Wars, I've got to put her up in as a healthy choice in the B tier. Next, we'll talk about one of my favorite units who I don't get to use as much anymore, and that's Commander Pavel. Commander Pavel was a solid A tier pick, much like Remnant Violet. You put top-end gear on him and you can cleave like crazy with Pavel, but every unit seeming to have anti-crit as a part of their kit, and especially with Landy spamming anti-crit, as well as units like Cannaaaa and Lethe, they've put a damper on using Commander Pavel in RTA. He just doesn't see the play that he used to. When you get a chance to pick him, he's either a must ban or doesn't really do the job you want him to do. So that is why he has fallen out of my A tier pick range and down into the B tier, because his niche use now really is, unfortunately, farming. In unrecorded history, he's one of the best farming units. You pair him with a good Arbiter Vildred. Arbiter Vildred S3s kills the first wave. Stage 2, Arbiter Vildred S3s kills the second wave. Stage 3, Arbiter Vildred S3s hurts the boss, triggers Pavel, and Pavel kills the boss. He is key to one of the fastest unrecorded history farming teams out there, so he's a good pickup to help you boost gold really quickly, and maybe someday when Cleave comes back, he'll be amazing in RTA again. Now we walk down to the very niche units. Death Dealer Ray is a giga fun unit. The problem with Death Dealer Ray is he is not a standalone unit. He needs other people to help him with his job. Ideally AoE units who are good on their own account. In fact, if you don't have Solitaria or Archdemon Mercedes, he gets a little tricky to use, and you have to hope that your opponent lets Death Dealer Ray and the AoE spamming unit through, or he gets to be very difficult to use. Now, there's certain situations where when you pick him, he is a menace, and he will help you win the fight, especially good in control comps where his venoms can whittle people down. But he is the very definition of a niche unit. He is pretty easy to gear, all things considered, but he's a little bit difficult to play. And he has almost zero use outside of RTA, so if you're not an RTA player, this is not your unit. And last but not least, actually, last and least, it breaks my heart to say so, but at the bottom of the list, I'm putting Sylvan Sage Vivian. Now, Sylvan Sage Vivian, like Remnant Violet, is not a real unit unless she's geared well and she takes a very high-end level of gear. I think my Sylvan Sage Vivian is at that level of gear barely. This is about the threshold you want for her, and I think I'm about 2,000 health shy of being high champ Emperor tier with this Sylvian. If you can build this unit, she can be a bit of an asset, but the problem is there is so much damage on the board now, it's difficult to keep her alive. Her mitigation just isn't quite enough, and the healing is nice, the destruction buff is nice, there are times when she can solo teams, there are times when she can win teams, but she is just difficult to play. She's difficult to gear and difficult to play. I think if you can gear her this well or better, she moves up to the front of B tier, but if you can't gear her, she's down here in D tier with Remnant Violet, because without the gear, she's not a real unit. So, that's the picks, guys. Here is the completed tier list, and I hope this helps you navigate it. I spent some time with Cannaaaa working on a tier list where we go into much more detail about the units. I'm sure that video will be coming very soon. When it does, I will link it in the description so that you can go there to hear more about each units and two people's takes on where they land on the tier list and how draftable they are. Now, bottom line, I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what any video tells you. I don't care how good the streamer is. You pick the unit you like. This is a game, and if you're not having fun with it, why are you playing it? If you really, really, really want to play a unit, you really, really like their aesthetic, you've always wanted the unit, then that's your unit. It doesn't matter what's meta. You have fun. Fun trumps all. But if you're looking for the meta play, if you're looking for what is currently considered the best, what is currently considered the most usable, I think this list will serve to help guide you. You start from the top and work your way down, and the first unit you hit that you don't have, you pick that unit. If you have all of the units, you can start considering dupes. I've heard some people say they're taking Conqueror Lilias so they can use it to imprint the new limited Lilias that's coming out. I think that's a little silly, but I have two Conqueror Liliases. One I run super fast, and one is slow and tanky for Guild War defense. I'm working on a second Remnant Violet to build him super fast. I'm working on a second hand guy so I can have one that goes before Angel of Light Angelicas and one who would go after Angel of Light Angelicas. So there is a world where you can pick multiple 5-star units and build them, but that's pretty metagaming, and if you're at that level of play, you probably don't need this tier list. Anyway, I'm signing off. I hope that helps you guys out. If you have any questions, ask them in the comment section, and don't forget to like and subscribe.